Hi there, Science Apprentice. My name is Noemí Durán, and I want to welcome you to Creation Lab. In this 10-video series, we will go over the week of creation and all of the wonderful things that God created for us on each day. Some of the experiments that you will see in this program are dangerous, and you should not try to do them at home. We will mark them with this symbol. For some of the experiments that we will mark with this other symbol, it will be necessary for an adult to be with you to help you with the difficult or dangerous steps. And God said, "Let the waters abound with an abundance of living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament of the heavens." Today we've made it to my favorite part of Creation Week, the moment that God starts to create the animals. But He doesn't make them all at once. Do you remember which animals God created on the fifth day? I'm going to give you a clue. The first days of the week, God dedicated to fixing the house, and the last days to filling it with life. The fifth day is connected to the second, when God separated the waters from above and below to create the atmosphere. And the fifth day, He created the animals that move in those places, the aquatic and the flying. How curious, right? Because I love to talk about animals, we're going to divide the fifth day in two programs, one for the fish and the other for the birds. Living in water is not easy. A lot of things are different. If you've ever gone diving in the ocean or a lake, you've probably noticed that when your head is in the water, you can hear the sounds, but you don't know where they're coming from. This happens because sound travels much faster through water than through air, and that confuses us. Seeing underwater is also complicated because our eyes aren't prepared for that. Also, when light passes from air to water or vice versa, it does strange things, and we could even see illusions that aren't really there. We are going to demonstrate this with a very simple experiment where you will only need a glass container with water, some markers, and a piece of white cardboard. With a marker, we're going to make a very small drawing on a piece of white cardboard. The drawing has to have a very clear direction. For example, it could be an arrow or a little fish. Now, we're going to put the drawing behind the glass and move it down little by little. How is it possible that it flipped around? To get from the drawing to our eyes, and that we can see it, the light had to pass through the air, the glass, water, and then the glass, and the air again. In each of these changes, the rays of light deviate, and that makes us see our little fish swimming in the opposite direction. But don't worry, fish don't get confused. God gave them special eyes that they can see perfectly with underwater. With our second experiment, we are going to demonstrate why freshwater fish can't live in salt water and vice versa. To do this, we need distilled water, a cucumber, a cutter knife, salt, and 2 glasses. We are going to make 2 identical fish with this cucumber. For this experiment, we will need a cucumber that is fairly straight, that isn't bent. We cut a straight piece about 8 centimeters and we peel it. Next, we're going to cut it in half, lengthwise, and with each of the halves, we're going to make a fish, cutting it with this cutter knife. Now we have our two little fish. To make this a little more fun, we're going to put an eye from a stuffed animal on each one. We are going to weigh them to check that they are more or less the same. They don't have to be exact, but more or less. This one weighs 33.9, and this one weighs 33.4. Good. A difference of less than 1 gram? Perfect. We are going to put distilled water in both glasses without reaching the top. One glass is going to represent the ocean, so we're going to add 2 tablespoons of salt. The other glass is going to represent a river or a lake, fresh water. We will place each of the fish in a glass. To do this experiment, we will need to be patient because we have to let our fish stay in their habitat for about 12 hours. So if you do it one day, you will see the results the next day. 12 hours have passed, and we're going to weigh our fish again. Here's our freshwater fish. It weighed 33.4 grams. And now it weighs a little bit more than 35 grams. It has increased by almost 2 grams. Here we have our saltwater fish that weighed 33.9 and now weighs 27 grams. It has decreased in weight by almost 6 grams. If we put them side by side, we can see that the freshwater fish is much bigger now than the saltwater fish. Also, if we touch them, we can see that the saltwater fish is soft, while the freshwater fish is really hard. Do you know why our cucumber fish have changed in size? When a cucumber, or a fish, lives surrounded by fresh water, the water goes into the skin and stays inside, making it swell. With salt water, the opposite happens. The water in the body leaves it, and the body shrinks. This would be a major problem if God hadn't foreseen it. But since we have a super intelligent creator, there's no problem. When God created the freshwater fish, He put special kidneys in them that eliminate all the extra water. They spend all day going pee-pee. In contrast, saltwater fish have to conserve as much water as possible, and for that reason, they work differently. They produce very little urine and have other mechanisms that eliminate the salt and other toxins from the blood while barely using any water. Aren't animals the best? Well, this is nothing. We still have several programs and lots of experiments that you're going to love. But for now, let's review. What did we learn today? That God created the aquatic animals on the 5th day of Creation Week. That living in water is difficult, but God has given fish all the organs they need to function perfectly in their environment. In the life of Jesus, there are several episodes where fish appear. Do you remember any? Then He said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." They immediately left their nets and followed Him. And that's it for today's program. But remember, we're not done yet. A good scientist is never satisfied with just seeing how others do things. They have to try it for themselves. So now it's your turn to put on your lab coat, your safety glasses, and your gloves, and do the experiment at home. And don't forget to ask for permission and take all necessary precautions. See you next time.